Haircuts can be problematic for us at both ends of the spectrum, okay? So one is the super short, and by short, I don't mean a shaved head. By super short, I mean that military, high and tight, dead squirrel pelt on the top of your head, and then white walls on the sides, okay? You guys see a guy with that haircut, what's that tell you? Cop, military, working, you guys know what I'm talking about, right? Okay, so be conscious of that. The flip side is that you're Steven Seagal and you've got your ponytail or whatever it may be, and so we're at that end of the spectrum. So farthest thing from conservative, something in the center. You guys understand, right? What about facial hair? What do you guys think about that? Okay, so you've got kind of a beard going. Doug's got a beard going. What are thoughts on facial hair? What do you guys think?
Depends on the detail.
What's that?
Depends on the detail.
Certainly does. Certainly does. Okay, let's explore that a little bit more. Depends on what?
I mean, the client's preferences.
Okay.
Whether they like facial hair or not.
All right. How are we going to know that? And I mean, are we just going to out and out ask that? What do you think? What do you think about that?
If they
I got a little rubber band, kind of like
if they
a
have a beard,
professional
for
wrestler?
instance, it's probably a pretty good bet that they wouldn't mind.
If they what?
If they have a beard, for instance, it's probably a pretty good bet that they wouldn't mind.
I'm going to disagree with you, all right? And I'll tell you that we kind of find it fascinating how there's a lot of do as I say, not as I do. Does that click? So I've seen principals before who they wear cowboy shirts and Wranglers and Lucchese boots, and they want their guys in suits and ties. And you just sort of say, this is crazy. Why is it that way? So that you could be correct on that, but there may be exceptions to that rule as well. What else?
Maybe look at his employees or people he's around and stuff with, his
Okay.
other employees.
Okay. What else?
If it's an established detail, maybe that's a good thing for the director of security to establish with him on the outset of that.
Okay.
And pass it down.
Okay. That's someone at a higher pay grade maybe has that conversation, right? That we don't walk in and. So the New York Yankees and the Cincinnati Reds come there. You're going to play baseball. We're filling out your contract, right? You get this bonus if you make this many strikeouts or hit this many home runs, et cetera, et cetera. If we make it to the playoffs. Oh, and by the way, you can't have facial hair. It's a 100-year-old clause in the contract. Hundreds of years old. Baseball. Those baseball teams. Why? Because that's what the owners want. This isn't protection, this is baseball. Right? Finance in New York City. It's just a taboo. It's just no. If you're in that East Coast thing, you're in that finance industry, they don't like it. No mustaches, no beards, no anything. We're here in Silicon Valley. What do you think? What's the take on facial hair? Yeah, it's a little bit looser, right? What do you think the attitude in finance in New York City would be if you had a nose ring or an earring, right? No go, right? Out here, whatever. Someone might not care. We might care. But someone might have an objection to that, right? So it's know your audience. Know exactly what your audience is. In the protocol and etiquette block that's on video that you guys are going to get, that goes into greater detail, talking about culture and religion and tradition and that sort of stuff. There's cultures in the world that if you don't have facial hair, they say that makes you either a boy or a female. So it's law, right? Under the Taliban, it was law that you had to have a fist-length beard on your face. So just keep that in mind as far as who we're working with, where we're working, et cetera, et cetera. Let's talk about jewelry here for a moment. So I'm going to ask you guys a little bit of a ridiculous question, but there's a reason, there's a method to the madness. How many of you guys think that a principal might say, I really like Doug, I really like him, he's a great agent, he does a great job, he's very agreeable, he shows up on time, he does everything. I just wish he wore more jewelry. I just wish he just had more jewelry hanging off of him. How many of you guys think the client's going to say that? They're not. How many of you guys think the client might say the exact opposite of that? Yes. So to set you guys up for success. This is what we call the three-piece rule. The three-piece rule states that we should not wear in excess of 3 pieces of jewelry. What are those 3 pieces of jewelry? A watch, a wedding band, and then we're pushing it with the third, if we're a guy, would be a class ring of some sort. No overt chains, no earrings, no lips, no nose, no eyebrow. I guess if your nipple rings are covered up, you're good to go. Okay? Let's go back and let's unwind. Let's go back to the watch. If we are wearing a suit and we've got on a large digital watch, we've got a large G-Shock watch on, how well does that complement a suit? It doesn't. All right? So when I say watch, I strongly encourage you guys to have an analog watch. Now, in Silicon Valley, there is a little bit of an exception to this rule, which is what? That Apple Watch, right? That Apple Watch has been a little bit of a crossover item that kind of goes into both camps. But I'd strongly encourage you guys to have an analog watch. It's a much safer bet. That makes sense.
Well, even on the face of those,
You can make it analog.
You can make it analog.
You can make it analog. There we go. Exactly. Problem solved. What do you guys think the three-piece rule is for females? What do you think that is?
Earrings and a wedding band.
So we're back to what? Watch, wedding band, and earrings. That's it. 3-piece. It's the safest bet. That makes sense, everybody. Good? Fantastic. We already kind of talked about the facial hair issue. Teeth and breath. So monitor that, guys. Monitor it. You know that if we're taking and we're eating through the day, we need to, one, watch out for our breath. We need to take and make sure that we don't have broccoli stuck in our teeth or any of those type deals. Mints are not a bad idea. Gum is a bad idea. To be sucking on gum and snapping on gum, negative. That's a no-no. Mints, because we put them in our mouth, we get rid of them real quick. They kind of dissolve. We swallow them. We spit them out someplace. They go away, and then we're good. Don't be spitting mints out in front of the client. Your nails, properly groomed, and not only properly groomed, but also clean. So if you guys can imagine the principal sitting in the back seat, looking forward, and our hands are up on the wheel, and they're looking up, and it looks like you just dismantled a transmission that morning, and you just got gunk and et cetera trapped underneath your fingernails. It's a mess. Our personal hygiene, staying on top of it, staying on top of body odor. While we're on this topic of body odor, I'm going to throw it over to Doug over here for a moment and let him talk about this. That going back to the issue of, boy, I wish my agent wore a bunch of jewelry. How many of you guys think that a principal might say, I really like Doug, but boy, I wish he wore more cologne. I just wish he wore more scenty stuff. How many of you guys think you will ever hear that? You will never hear that. So Doug's going to give you some real-world personal examples right now, again, to set you guys up for success. I don't want to hear about somebody losing a position on a detail for something that is utterly simple and avoidable. Cenk.
Yes, we're started off this a residential detail. Residential detail in Vegas that we still run for, what year is it now? 5 or 6 years now. So we had an agent come in, sat down, he's kind of new, pulled out his backpack and pulled out Axe body spray and sprayed in the house, and it's sprayed Axe body spray on himself. And I looked at him and I said, we gave you an in brief, and like that's a no-go. Axe, nobody's gonna say, hey, just like Brian said, that's a perfect example. Saying these little things, saying it out loud, how it really is, it's like, yeah, I guess so. I mean, they're not going to come down and say, hey, I wish it smelled like Axe in here. It's just, well, what do you want me to smell bad? That was his answer. And it was, that's one of those, you kind of just don't get it, man. So like small, especially driving, if you just drive, you might not smell it on yourself. We'll talk about smoking here in a minute, but anybody smoke? Or anybody seen a limo driver? We teach a driving course, and I bring this up all the time, where it's that separates limo drivers and executive protection driving, and it's just you might smoke outside the car with your jacket off. Who's seen that at a convention or something like that? A bunch of limo drivers just hanging out, their jackets are off in the car, and they're smoking outside. They might not smell. They think they don't smell like smoke, but if you're a non-smoker and somebody walks by, it's you could just tell that person smokes. So don't. I have a kit. I have a small kit when I work that detail specifically, or pretty much any detail, where it's like Mitchum odorless body like deodorant, hair gel, like odorless. I just have an odorless kit where it just doesn't smell like anything. So explore those options and just be aware of that stuff, especially if it's a smell that you're used to. Your body gets accustomed to it, and you might not smell it at all. And then, but to somebody that's very sensitive to smells, it can bother them. So be aware of that stuff.
This overlaps, as I'm sure you've heard a couple of these guys say. These things overlap with each other, and that goes not just in grooming, but what about food in the car, right? So we haven't talked about vehicle prep or any of that kind of stuff yet. But any smokers here? Good, awesome, fantastic. Any raspberry vapors? Don't admit it. All right, bubble gum, cotton candy. So you imagine principal comes out, they hop into the vehicle and they get in, and it smells like a fruit farm in there. Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. Does that bother you? Right? It's not about you. It's about them. So anyway, tattoos. Who's got them? Show of hands. Who's got them? I'm all tatted up. I got them all over the place. All right. And it's good that you don't see or know that. So the world will never understand us. They won't grasp that concept. So do yourself a favor and just cover them up, and then it's not an issue. There are people in given religions, and in religions, it's offensive to tattoo yourself. It's kind of defacing God's property or whatever you want to call that. So don't put yourself into a position where that's going to be a drama or that's going to be a thing. You chose to do that. Hey, that's your personal business, but cover it up. They should be able to work with you for 10 years and say, oh my God, I had no idea you had tattoos. Methods of carry in the event that we do wind up carrying weaponry or firearm while we're at work. We typically break methods of carry into two categories: on body and off body. So on body carry would clearly be where we're carrying in a location on the body. Every single location you carry on the body has a strength and has a weakness. You have to weigh those alternatives based upon where you're at most of the day, how you may or may not have to deploy that item. If I sit in a vehicle all day long and I never get up, all I'm doing is sitting down, just like so. Man, that gun on my ankle is so comfortable. It's so great. I have all this room over here. Nothing's jabbing me in the hips. In fact, if I need it, I just can reach down to my ankle and I'm up on gun. And the second I stand up, I am completely screwed. Totally screwed. If I go and I'm running or chasing somebody, I can't do anything without stopping and getting down. I've personally been in foot pursuits and seen guns come off ankles in foot pursuits. I seen a gun come off a guy's ankle and he kicked his own gun airborne when it came off of his ankle. And then it skittered past the guy he was chasing, who heard a noise and looked down and a gun went past him. That's a bad thing, is what we call that, right? Great when I'm sitting down, though. So we need to assess that, right? How does Doug like it when we share office space and I have my shoulder holster with the gun pointed back at him? He looks in down the muzzle of my gun all day long, right? He doesn't take too kindly to it. So assessing that. Off-body carry is something that we've grown to like very much, which is the usage of messenger bags or backpacks. We even have a proprietary bag that we designed that's specifically for carrying off body. It's got ballistic panels in it, carries a bunch of equipment, and it looks like it's a bag for an iPad or a camera or anything along those lines. Incredibly fast, rapid, easy to take and deploy from. Carrying overt. Once we cross that line and we go overt, we might be more of a deterrent, yeah? Where's those uniform division, Secret Service guys, right? Are they overt? Yeah, they're cops. They're a regular cop. What about the counter assault team? Are they overt? Yeah, they're overt. What's kind of funny is when we cross over into guys who are maybe performing surveillance detection or covert agents, but they're still using traits and characteristics of the first two areas. What do I mean by that? It's kind of a complicated way. So we're at a rally, we're at a political rally, and I'm one of the covert agents. So I'm kind of in a running tracksuit, but I've got on a G-Shock, and I've got on Oakley shooting glasses, and I've got in an earpiece, but I'm covert, right? No one connects these dots and can figure out who I am, right? If you're in, you have to go all in. If you're covert, you have to go covert. How many of you guys have ever been at Home Depot before? You're buying a roll of duct tape and a guy walks by you, he's got a pair of 511 pants on and a rigger's belt, and you say, all right, who is this guy? Where does this guy? You start making assumptions about that guy. How many of you guys have done it? Yeah, you absolutely do. You 100% do, and folks do that on us as well. So don't make that any easier if we're trying to be covert. Let's talk about some additional items that we might, and the operative word here is might have with us or might carry. We're not necessarily going to carry all this crap and all this equipment, but there might be time and place where we're carrying certain things. So the weapon and support equipment, and when I say a weapon and support equipment, what do you think I mean by that? Things like magazines, things such as a flashlight or a lighting system, that might be something. How about an intermediate force option, right? We know in law enforcement that if we take and we go lethal with someone with a firearm, that in use of force investigation, one of the questions asked is what? Did you have another force option there? Did you have a stick? Did you have a spray? Did you have a taser? Did you have a boomerang? Whatever. We get asked that question. Everybody do me a favor. Take and circle, asterisk, or underline the word handcuffs for me. So somebody tell me what does a super soaker, a taser, and cuffs have in common? What do those have in common?
No good if you don't know how to use them.
No good if you don't know how to use them. I'd agree with you on that. For my law enforcement officers here, how many of you guys, your agency has adopted or uses a taser? How many of you guys have it? Okay. When you guys first got it, were you on the PD when you first got it?
When they first got it, no, but I was an instructor.
Okay. How many guys were on an agency when it showed up? Do you have any guys accidentally shoot it?
Oh yeah.
Maybe shoot it into their hand, shoot their locker or squad mate or anything along those lines? Did you have a spike in usage, an initial spike in usage of it? Right?
Absolutely.
As in sort of, hey, I'm getting my big gulp, you're in the way of my line, I'm gonna blast you with the taser. How many of you guys think you could take, everybody knows what a super soaker is, right? Yes? How many of you guys think you could take a fully fueled up, loaded super soaker, give it to a 5-year-old boy and say, don't pull that trigger? How long is that going to last? What do you guys think? Not long. Okay, so here's what these things have in common. If we give somebody a tool, what are they going to want to do with it? How many of you guys ever picked up the tongs and before you use a set of tongs, you go click, 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 and you click the tongs 3 times before you turn a steak? Yes? Okay. So why are we circling and underlining handcuffs? Why are we doing that? Why am I making you guys do that? What's a noun?
First place with
I want you to imagine you have a set of cuffs, okay? And you're protecting a person. I'm protecting the person. It's the principal and it's me, okay? And as I'm standing there, 2 guys come up in front of me and they start fighting. One of them pulls a gun out and he shoots the other guy. What should I do? Maybe go? Yeah? Turn around, look at that principal. We're going to be here a while. Pull my cuffs out because we're going to jail. Yeah? No, that's not your job. It's not. Right? You know, it's not even the job if you're a cop. It's not even your job if you're a cop. 2 guys get into a pushing match and they get into a fist fight in front of the president and they stab or shoot each other. Is the Secret Service say, ooh, we're going to solve this crime? Or are they getting their client out of there? They're getting their client out of there. There may be other guys in this follow-on capacity that they stick around and deal with the carnage, but we got to go. But what if you got those cuffs? Just having them could lead you to believe you need to use them. Do you guys understand what I'm getting at here? I'm not saying it's wrong to have them, but I'm saying having them could lead you to believe that's your primary job. Yes? If we have 15 agents all working together and you're the driver for the principal, you are in the principal vehicle behind the wheel. We have 14 other agents. I'm not saying you can't have a gun, but what do you really need a gun for? Do you see what I'm getting at? If it goes sideways, what's your job? What's your main job? Drive. Stay in the car and drive. If we're outside of the car and we're having a gunfight, it's 14 of the rest of us to handle that problem. And if you have a gun and say, oh, I want to get in on this, we suddenly get in the car and we say, where's my driver? Oh, he's out there Wyatt Earping it. Do you guys understand?